Go.
All right, well, let's go. So welcome back to the Persimmon Pub. Inside the Persimmon Pub, we got something going on different today. We're actually recording the podcast. So we're going to try our hand at throwing this on YouTube and seeing what happens. But this is our first live on the mics, live on the video podcast, which is great. So for those of you who are just now tuning into YouTube and looking at this, I'm Jack. This is Scott. Scott's the local PGA pro here at Franklin Bridge, and we're doing a segment called Ask Sherlock. So Sherlock obviously is famous for figuring out hard questions, right? Yep. And so what we're doing is we call Scott Sherlock, and he comes in, he fixes our golf swings instantly. It feels like Scott is
fast, man. That's the object.
Fast. There you go. So Scott is going to answer a bunch of questions from the crowd, and we're going to see how he fares answering some of these difficult questions, which great one to start it off. We have John over here who's actually going to be asking our first question, and it was a tough one. So John is right here. I don't know if – you can probably see him in the camera. There you go. Hey, what's going on, John? Go ahead and ask your question to Sherlock.
All right. This first is unprompted. I just like to remind people, Scott's great. He literally – 30 degrees outside, takes all of his layers off to show me what he means by hitting soft. He's hitting outside in the pouring rain, only a shirt on to show me what.
I had pants on too, by the way.
Get pants on. but no, the point is he took 4 layers off to show me what it means to hit a ball soft. And I can't think of any other teacher that would have done that for me. So
you're welcome.
He's a great guy.
All right, now, getting into the question here.
It's going to block the camera over there. Taking up space.
This is I like hard questions.
I love hard questions.
This is going to top them all. So it is scientifically proven that increased adrenaline helps you remember things.
Okay.
Now, that is not as scientifically proven, but it is somewhat goes over to learning as well. My question for you is, how much adrenaline should you try to spike while practicing and while playing to give that mindset of help your body to learn something? And some people, everybody's different. Some people respond to positive catalysts, and some people respond to negative catalysts better. How can people incorporate that into their practice and playing routine to make themselves better?
So I can answer this question in a really long form, but I'm going to go short form on this one. I'm going to pull an element from my book. For those that are on YouTube for the first time, the Champions Playbook is the name of my book that came out about 1.5 years ago.
We haven't even introduced the book for the people who are watching on YouTube.
I know. So the Champions Playbook, Thinking Your Way to Lower Scores. It's on Amazon.
Check it out on Amazon.
You can also come over here to the bridge, Franklin Bridge here in Franklin, Tennessee. And we're well over 100 episodes now. So
we're well over 100 episodes.
Yeah, so this is fun.
I think we're at I think this is going to be episode 109, I believe.
Ooh. So it's all on strategy and a little bit of the mental game. But towards the end of the book, I talk about golf is like the only sport where we make our practice way too easy. Now, to give you some context, if you're a beginner, I'm trying to make it as easy as possible on you so that you can build some basic confidence. But as you get better, you've got to add stress to the environment. I was out actually on the golf course with one of my professional players and gave him a very difficult assignment. He's like, dude, this is way more stressful than me playing in a tournament. And so trying to make your practice far more stressful than what it's going to be like when you actually play is an important component. Now, there are dozens upon dozens of ways to do that. But a lot of people also don't handle adrenaline very well. So that's where a lot of your nerves come in. Sometimes you'll hit one extra far, or you'll swing a little harder than you're accustomed to. And so you can actually ruin the fundamentals at the same time. So the only way to get used to that is actually to put yourself in it as often as you can. So it's kind of going to be my short form. We could get into adrenaline a lot, but that would take up the whole podcast. So
maybe next week.
Yeah, we'll talk. Actually,
that's a whole podcast
sidebar.
Episode. Yeah. That's a whole episode right there.
We'll do that. We'll look at trying to do that next week.
Yeah.
That'll be good.
So 3 takeaways. How can somebody handle or make their practice hard so that when they're actually playing around, it's easy?
Well, I think standing there and hitting the same ball at the same target over and over and over and over and over again is not an effective way to practice. No,
Yep.
you need to learn to change habits, and you need to have a straight target, maybe do some alignment sticks, things like that, to make sure that you're doing the same thing repetitively. But then as you start doing that, you need to start shifting into changing clubs every
10 shots.
10 shots is kind of one of my big ones. Changing targets, little things like that. And then as you get better, you can start putting challenges like, okay, I'm going to hit 3 balls with this club on the green before I move on to the next club. There's all sorts of games on the course. I'm going to tell you to pick up a copy of my book to learn that. But I'm not even going to give you a 3. I just, like, there's so much in my book that just, there's exercises throughout the entire book, which is why I call them courses, not chapters.
Yeah.
The power, yes, is in the content that's in my book, but even more so is in the exercises that are within that, because it allows you to apply the principles that you're learning, which makes it a lot easier to remember them. So to me, that's probably the biggest one.
I love the different club every 10 strokes rule. I just think that's so good because so many people will be like, man, I just really want to nail my 7-iron today. And they'll just hop out on the course and they'll be like, they won't switch clubs until they have hit like a couple of a good shot. And depending on how good that person is, they might not ever hit that many good shots.
Correct.
But switching around your clubs really makes you focus on the fundamentals more and maybe not just getting so stuck in a rut with one club.
Well, and the other thing is when you stay on one club and you get really good at hitting that one club, it overinflates your actual ability. And so you have –
because when you pull that club actually in a round, you're not going to be able to make that
good.
same shot, and it's not going to be that good.
Not that well. And so – it overinflates what you can do, and so you then make decisions on the golf course that accompany that.
Yeah.
And so then we talk about expectations and how your emotions fluctuate with that. Disappointment is the gap between expectations and reality. I've heard that before. I love that. So the higher your expectations over the reality of what you can really do, the larger your disappointment.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have a problem with that gap.
Well, that's a big thing in golf, I feel like. That's a huge thing in
And it's big in a lot of sports. So
100%.
Next question. Come on. Miracle, come over here and pick up the mic. You have to talk into, where is it? Talk into that side like that, like we're holding it right here.
Okay, a little bit fun, but touching golf. Like, it's a lot of celebrities in different sports. They really successful, and at a certain moment they play for fun and they play celebrity tournaments, what we witness. What professional sports, in your opinion, best fit transition from that sport to golf as a sport? You know, considering like physical preparation, stamina, or, you know, like fitness, mental prep, you know, staying focused, what in the golf you really do need, and then God-given skills, what make them to be really successful. We know, like, a lot of tennis player, even Lendl.
This is a good one.
A lot involved in like playing golf after his successful tennis career, and then, you know, lately we witnessed some quarterbacks.
We've talked a lot about this.
Basketball player.
We've talked a lot about this, especially in like the hockey realm, baseball realm. Any of these swinging sports is the first ones that usually come to mind.
Yeah, I'm going to kind of, since Miracle kind of brought up, you could look at stamina and mental, et cetera, preparation. I think the best mental preparation would be a pitcher in baseball, because you have a lot of time to think about what it is you're doing. You're not reacting. Like a hitter in baseball has to react to the ball coming at them, but a pitcher has to take in all of the things that are going in around them over and over and over again. And so I think from a mental standpoint, I think pitching is probably the best preparedness that you can be.
Let me throw you for a loop here, because the pitchers are rarely the people calling the shots. So actually, the person who is most prepared to take on the sport is the catcher in baseball.
I could see that,
because they're the ones relaying. And we talk about
they're
this a lot.
relaying the information.
Well, we talk about this a lot in baseball. Is the catcher is like the caretaker for the pitcher. He is the person who's able to see this person's abilities from every single angle. So he can tell if he's getting frustrated, if he's not throwing one ball correctly, the way that he usually does. He's the one that's communicating with the pitching coach and the hitter. He's the one that's caretaking for the
That's
umpire.
awesome.
So he's what we call he is the definition of the quarterback on the baseball field. The catcher is.
That's cool.
And so that, I think, would be just like
It's
you
an
said,
interesting one.
the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, the ability to handle that in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
Like if he makes the wrong call,
Yep.
it screws up the whole.
It's a dinger over the fence.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. In terms of transferable skills,
Physically.
I think from a power standpoint, baseball, softball, volleyball.
Ooh, why volleyball?
Shoot, have you seen how people spike a volleyball?
Yeah, totally.
Shoot.
But I've just
There's
explain
so
it for the
much-
viewers at home, like. 'Cause
So
the
a lot of people
volleyball's
think
something
that volleyball is a spike with the arm.
overhead, yeah.
It's actually with the entire body. If you look at some of the best people that spike, it's a jump up, and then you'll actually see them. It's almost like a V-up crunch. And so it's a whole core-driven movement, just like the golf swing is.
Nice. Yeah.
In terms of being able to control ball flight and shape, I'm loving where I'm going with this. Buddy.
Yeah.
This is fun. Great question, Miracle. I would put tennis and pitching in baseball.
Mm-hmm.
The awareness in the hands is phenomenal, and the hand action in tennis/ping pong, but tennis more so just because it's a
I never
it's a
thought about
bigger
that.
object.
With tennis,
it's
getting
the
that wrist.
It's the same hand action. It's just high to low instead of low to high. It's literally the exact same movement.
That's awesome. Yeah.
But you emphasize so many times reaction. You know, in the golf, you do not have many reaction.
No, and so you have to learn, as I talk about in this class that Miracle's in, I have to teach you how to build a routine that allows you to react to either a practice swing or a visual shot, and you need to go through that very quickly. Trying to think what else. From a finesse standpoint, I'll say body awareness standpoint, gymnasts are top of the mark. Gymnasts change faster than anybody else. High-level gymnasts, because their awareness of where their body is and the precision of what they have to do, especially when you're talking about landing on a beam, spinning in the air, like the precision that's required in every single part of their body in order to execute in front of a judge, they're so easy to teach. Now, if they haven't had any ball hitting sport experience, it can be a little bit difficult, but
Could you make an argument too that like weightlifters also have excellent feel as well in order to like contract certain muscles in certain places and isolate and all that kind of stuff?
it would depend on their ball hitting experience. And just because they don't have to do a flip. Now, they're aware of where their body is, but
Yeah.
like there's so much precision around where the fingers and the hands and the palm and the elbow and the wrist and the shoulder and the twisting of your body midair and how
Yeah.
much to twist. Just gymnasts have.
Gymnasts or weightlifters looks like appears that basketball players, they are the most likely be the ones who will participate in these tournaments at least.
They're
If
also
you-
probably the ones that aren't sick of swinging something at the end of the day, too. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Like, it's probably like basketball players probably want to do something that's completely different from their own sport. And so that's probably why they air to golf more. I do know that, you know, golf's very popular in baseball. And I mean, it's just popular across the world, in the sporting world.
I think the
But-
reason why you're seeing it on TV more is because basketball players have a more look. The reason why the tour's doing that is because of all the attention that they bring.
The NBA.
And so I think it's more a recognition. Like you could grab football players, you could grab tennis. There's a number of tennis players you could grab.
Yeah.
There's a gazillion baseball players you could grab, but you're not seeing them do that because you don't have the
the press
overall
and the publicity around it.
The publicity
Yeah.
around the NBA is so
Everybody know who LeBron James is.
right.
And not
Steph
everybody knows
Curry.
who Mike Trout is,
Right.
for example.
You mean Michael Jordan? Or did
Yeah,
you,
Michael
Yeah,
Jordan.
Michael
did you
Jordan's
say
a big
that
one as
wrong?
well.
LeBron
know-
James or
We can talk about this too. Michael Jordan just opened his own track, his own
his own
course.
golf course. Yeah.
By the
So-
way, you know, like, what do you think? Who is the best golfer among professional athletes in the different sports?
You're
Just
probably
for
going to put
fun.
like from the ones that are out there, probably Steph Curry's up there. I mean, he's competed on what's now the Korn Ferry Tour, which used to be the Nationwide Tour, and he shot some pretty low rounds below 75 on tour conditions. So I don't know if there's anybody out there that's tried to do that. I mean, there's probably are some other guys. A lot of quarterbacks in football, a lot of throwing sports, like golf is a throwing sport. So swinging a racket is a throw. You just don't let go of the object that you're throwing. Pitching in baseball is a throw. Throwing a football, spiking a ball, like all of those things are all throwing movements. So to me, we've taught so long for players to do things with their left arm or their lead arm. So for lefties, that would be their right arm. I've just found that you can do a lot more with the trail arm, especially if they've played. Like with Miracle, I mean, when he started with me in the high 90s, and I had him swing it left-handed, just with his left hand, shoot, he hit it like a 3 handicap would hit it with a left arm, with one arm on the club. And so that's his tennis experience speaking, which I think is part of the reason why I asked the question. It's fantastic.
Yeah, that's great. Well, we're going to wrap up that part 1 of today's Ask Sherlock right here, and we'll get right back to part 2 after this quick message. Okay, there's no quick message, but you get the point. Okay, here we go.